Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Can we get to the question? Anybody has an opinion? I'm reading the question, and I would want. I was expecting that somebody will choose something and post the answers. The chat will go on record. Okay, I would want to save the record for any future purposes. So the question given to you is Shubhashri, what's the question, please?
Sir, you have asked for the model organism, like
Yes, yes, yes.
the
Yeah,
efficiency of drug
yeah.
in
Please tell me.
treating a disease.
Yes,
So I thought Drosophila can be used because the main thing is the ethical issues related with that are less compared to the other mammalian cell lines or like monkey, chimpanzee, or mouse. And then one more is like we have short generation time. So since epigenetics they are carried on to generations, so if we have short generation time, we can observe them in the forthcoming generations also. And we have various phenotypes like winged, non-winged, and like female adults, male adults in Drosophila. So I thought that could go well.
that's excellent answer. I think your answer has several dimensions, and that's a good thing. Okay. That I will have counter questions. Okay. This is all for everybody's understanding and the way we should be able to discuss to start with. And the systems thinking is something where you are going to think about and consider all the factors and how each factor may be influencing. And here, say I gave a question that reads something like the objective is to study the drug efficiency and see if there are any side effects in the times of epigenetic side effects. When you say epigenetic side effects, it could be cellular, and if it is something to do with imprinting or so, it can carry to generations as well. So that means not just on the organism that we study, but we also have to study the generations to come. And sometimes it may also, anytime we make a study, it should be in statistically significant. That means you need to have a large number of animals or test organisms that your one is trying to use. Uh, so my question to start with, from ethics ways, if you or philosophy kind of ways, if we try to see it, why is that? Okay, Subhashri, I will give you this question specifically. Are there any drawbacks in choosing Drosophila? I think you should address that also.
Sir, maybe like the gene coexist, like the gene matching with human, maybe less when compared to human cell lines. So, and directly testing in humans as we do after the preclinical, like preliminary clinical trials or so. So that might be one drawback. And yes, sir, I think that might be one.
Yes, genetic relatedness is
Yes,
it's
sir.
too divergent, right?
Yes, sir.
So then the relevance of the information that we get from Drosophila may not is becomes a little bit challenged in the sense that it might not be correct to us. Um, yes. So I'm from purely ethical perspective. Now I discussed about the scientific ones and Subhashri's also. I will talk about philosophically on ethics type. Why do we choose? Why do we feel comfortable working on Drosophila? And okay, I will take before I get into that, I'll take Akshaya's question point also that exactly her answer is based on genetic relatedness. Chimpanzee and monkey are they are the closest ones to us, but the problems will be with the numbers. How many numbers do we have? How many chimpanzees should we have to test, and our monkeys? And they give the number of offspring they give is only one, right? And their period, they study, I mean, for one to be born grown and become fertile and so on is also very huge. And that means it will cause a lot of problems. Um, so that is the we are going to already chimps are kind of endangered. If we start testing, then we might drive them to extinction. And
Yes, sir. I was speaking theoretically for choosing a chimpanzee.
yes, I understand here. As we are discussing here, there is no correct answer, there is no wrong answer. The actual
Okay,
intent
sir.
is how to look at the problem. Yes, what I'm saying is not right
Yes.
as well. There is no easy answer for this question. If I'm a philosopher and I ask a question, why is that you can't do an experiment on humans, but you want to, is Drosophila not living and you can harm it and pain it, right? So we will not have an easy answer for these kinds of questions. But what should we do or should we not do, again, is question. What about human cell lines? Are human cell lines fine to do work with? Human cell lines,
No, sir.
yes, human cell lines will give an indication, but not necessarily will not represent what happens at the level of an organism.
Yes, sir.
Not
It's a case by case basis. So a human
That's
cell
right.
line will be feasible.
Yes, that's right. So these are the ways one has to think. So the best possible way one we can do is in the list, maybe mouse, and that's why mice are so popular in almost every university clinical trials. That's where they start with. It is an organism. It is small. It still has pain and all, but they do kill, and there is a procedure for how one kills a mouse. In these kinds of things, they are bred for it, and but still it is still pain, it is still a loss of life. It is in ethics wise, we are still harming something. But there is no way, there is no other way to, for the benefit of anybody, even humans. We have to do something about something. I mean, if you go into the literature and find, not in the literature, but there are several experiments done by some mad scientists, unregulated. Why are regulations and ethics very important to know and read? Is because um, it will. Some scientists have done experiments on humans without proper precautions. Not nowadays; it was in the olden days. Okay, but there were some very dangerous experiments people have done, and many humans were affected. So I'm going to now go off the science and get back to from one question. For one question, it is applicable to everybody, and the again the it's not about right answer or wrong answer. It is about the ability to discuss properly. Okay, even if it is a sensitive topic, we should still be able to talk about it, and still not a discussion is something where one should be able to to talk and justify without flaring emotions, right? You don't get emotional about it, and how dare you say this, you hurt my beliefs. That kind of nonsense is not allowed in discussions, and we need to practice that. And that's one of the reasons why I am having this class. If it were in regular class, I would have enjoyed this much more, but even in online, we will try to have this discussion. Yes. So I'm going to paste a question that you already are all familiar. Maybe you had your fun discussions with your friends about this particular question, and I would want you to have some questions about it or some opinions on it. It's about the vegetarians and non-vegetarians. Should humans be, the question is something like this: should humans be vegetarians or non-vegetarians, or eat both? Yeah. That's the question. And I don't think we should take time on this. We will just directly get into the answers. Anybody has a take on it? And there, as I said, everything is fine. Yes, just discussion is the point of it. Yes, Akshaya.
Yes, sir. I don't think there should be a choice. People can eat anything they want to, but non-vegetarians are eating the animals, and vegetarians are eating the food that the animals need.
Yes.
So, in either way, we're going to be eating something. So it doesn't really matter. So there shouldn't
Okay.
really be a fight between people like this.
What about cannibalism then?
I wouldn't approve of that.
What?
I wouldn't approve of cannibalism
Why is that? If we can eat a goat or a fish or something, why not a human?
because I might be in that situation someday, and I don't want to go through that.
Yes, maybe you are the one who is going to eat. Never know. By the way, I am a non-vegetarian too. But anybody else has any other opinions on that? First thing, I think when we have a question like this, we should define what is vegetarian and what do you mean by non-vegetarian. So I will cut this point to something like uh, those people. I mean, you can disagree with the definitions too. Vegetarians are those that eat plants and plant products, okay, directly. I mean, cooked and all. Non-vegetarians eat plants, plant products, animals, and animal products also. So, yeah, now you can. I hope that definition is clear, right? Is egg or drinking milk, is it vegetarian or non-vegetarian?
Sure, that's why there's vegan, which is separate.
Okay,
Vegetarian
what?
includes dairy products also, but vegan would not includes nothing, includes only plants and plant products and nothing derived from animals.
Nothing
Derived from animals.
derived from
Yes,
animals.
sir.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
no milk, no cheese, no eggs.
Okay, so basically the question is how many is drinking milk vegetarian or non-vegetarian?
Vegetarian.
Why? Okay, I will describe a scenario something like this. A newborn calf is driven away from the mother or separated, and from the cow we take all the milk which should otherwise have been given to the calf. Yes.
So,
Any ideas on that?
no, sir.
We are stealing milk from the calf. Actually, is that right or wrong?
Yes, sir, it's true. It's inhumane treatment to the cows.
Yeah, yeah.
They
But
inject hormones and all.
yes, I would also want others to also bring in. Keter Balan, you're saying something, please voice it out. Yes, anybody else? So the argument that we are taking just the milk, we are not killing the organism, the cow. Is that justified or not justified? So basically, in these kinds of discussions, it is one way or the other we are involved in it, isn't it? Either you are a vegetarian or you are a non-vegetarian. And can we still be able to entertain a contradictory idea or view? Is the point of this topic. It's not about what is right and what is wrong. So how many of you, when you are talking, when you are feeling about it, when the question was raised, how many of you felt the anger or some kind of emotion? How many of you felt some form of say, if I had put forth a question against a point against non-vegetarian or a point against vegetarian, are your emotions elicited, which are usually about trying to defensive emotions? right? And Aditya has a question about yeah, there are, I think there are also lab cultured meat these days that are being uh, sold, right? In that one, there is nothing being killed. It's just a meat that is grown in the lab, whether it is vegetarian or non-vegetarian. Then that's also, I think, if I remember, they put a gene of muscle or something. I don't remember, in some plant, and they got a plant to produce fruit with that particular protein. I can't remember, recollect it exactly now. Is that vegetarian or non-vegetarian? So we cannot have any correct answers. We are all influenced by our childhood and the way we have grown, and we attach. It becomes a part of our identity, and then we tend to defend them. So what I'm trying to say is, we should be able to train ourselves to be able to have discussions without getting emotional or defensive about it. The first thing that starts is to start or cultivate that habit is this, that we should know, or we should realize and acknowledge that we are not perfect. Nobody is perfect, and we are not perfect, and there will be some, and most actions are also imperfect. Most behaviors are imperfect. Most everything has two sides to it. It depends on how we see it. So we should accept and acknowledge that kind of mindset, and then be able to then we can have a proper discussion that becomes much more. That is, when we have discussions, that's when then we can come up with better ideas, better ethics, better knowledge, and so on, right? um, Yes. So basically, I have one more question. So somebody is taking milk and drinking, and in some deserts of Africa or so, they have large number of cattle. They make a puncture in one of the veins in the near the neck, not the cutting, one non-essential vein, and draw the blood of that cow and drink it. Is that ethical or unethical? I mean, I'm just asking about in cow, we say we are not killing the organism. The same is the case here too. The cow is going to make that blood in a matter of days, and they don't take a lot of it, just maybe half a glass or something like that. So in its desert environment, they have a lot of difficulties, and this is one way of supplementing their diet, humans, with essential many other proteins or other stuff. So is it right or wrong? Yeah, that's right. But what we should understand is, different people in different parts of location and culture, traditions, growth, many other things, civilizations have different things. We are not them, so we cannot decide whether it is right or wrong. If we were them, and then we will obviously feel that what we have been doing is right. Not that it should be continued or so. We have had throughout the civilization, human civilizations, in most places, we had very barbaric traditions too, like sati, for example, or many, in even now, many cultures do have barbaric traditions of how they are treated. I don't mean that we should continue those things, but uh, that is, evolution should happen even at the level of this, and the starting point of it is our ability to look into ourselves and get to a question and try to see what is right and wrong. And there is a difference between wild animals and domesticated animals. Humans have been domesticating many plants and animals for their own survival. A dog has its own survival, has a purpose. Chicken have some purpose. Goat, sheep, cows, all these are domesticated animals. They are, each of them have certain purpose to the human survival. Whether it is right or wrong, I cannot say much about it. It's up to you to think about it. Having that, so because the argument for non-vegetarians is, they say that I have domesticated it, I have grown it, cultured, nurtured it, and allowing it to reproduce even, but I'm going to kill and consume it. Is that right or wrong is a question. Yes, what is domesticated and what is not is, if you take all the broiler chicken now from a chicken farm, poultry, and leave them in the nature, what would happen to them? They would all die. There is no way. Some of you may have the lovebirds or other those small parrot-like birds. If they are in the cage, they survive. If you leave them, release them into the nature, they die. So is it correct to grow them, or is it wrong to grow them? It's so difficult to talk about morality in that situations, right? So that means, you shall we allow them to go extinct, or shall we keep them in the cages? Well, I was thinking about the question, and I came, maybe if I had a large farmhouse, probably I would build a very big cage where they can fly and have their own families. So that's the closest I came so far. Yes, Ramanand, yes, cannibalism. That's exactly what the question is about. So here is the third question. Please read it. I will read it for you too. A patient has cloned, okay, it's not was, has cloned himself as a reserve for organs in if required in the future. Right? I think I have sent sometime, there is a link about a movie which is based on this case. And there is also an Indian movie where a kind of middle-aged man saves, educates a girl so that he could marry her in the old age, something like that. So do we have the rights? Again, it's to do with kind of domestication. Because I have grown them, because I have reared them, do I have rights on them? That's the kind of question this one is. A patient, very rich, and because of which he was able to clone himself and raise the body and the organism as a surplus. I mean, as a kind of insurance in case any organ fails for organ transplantation. Is it right or wrong? And what do you think about it? It's not about right or wrong. It's about ethical considerations. What should be done? Okay. Value of whose life? Aditya, is it human life or every life? Or plant life or only animal life? Nobody cares about bacteria. Right? Okay. So Madhumita has that we can grow organs in the lab. It's not possible to grow yet. But yeah, if the technology comes, maybe yes. Yeah, if they can give consent by death or after death, that's again a question, right? Nobody is allowed to kill a person. Even suicide is a kind of crime, isn't it? So the solution, I would go with what Madhumita said, is to grow organs instead of organisms, so that we should be, we are not going to kill somebody. Yes, I agree. In the case. Okay, now I'll give you a scenario for the same situation. Think of it as the last surviving male. Okay, all of technology is around, and that guy apparently is the last. Okay, I will put it as female. Assume that it is a female and it's the last surviving female. Can she be allowed to clone or not? Right? So with changing scenarios, the answers change. Our stances should change. And that is our ability to, I mean, that kind of malleability is what we should all have in terms of neurology as well. I mean, neurological malleability should be there so that we can change our stances instead of um, making steadfast or hard and fast rules. Okay. Yes, there might be some diseases in the cloned organism, but biology works by something is better than nothing. It doesn't work by nothing is better than nonsense, right? It is always important to have the hope and keep trying to do so that we will probably have better ways of doing it. Yes. So, and then I have the last question today, and then we will have discussions again. So I hope you know this. This is a question again to think of completely. It's a way of thinking. Is democracy good or bad for society? I think Plato hated, or in a way, hated democracy. Probably in the Greek or sometime before around 500 BC or 300 BC, something around that time, they already have the concept of democracy, where a king is not chosen by birthright. King is not by birthright, but chosen by the society. That's the basic concept of democracy. And they were making a lot of progress in that way, because once you say there are good things and bad things about democracy, before I speak anything, I would want to learn your views on that. What do you think? Is democracy good or bad? That's exactly right, Aditya. If somebody, I mean, in Plato's argument is, okay, is democracy good? What are the good things about democracy? I think we should go in that way to see what is good and bad of democracy. I am pro democracy, okay, for the stance in saying. Yes, decision making. And at the end, I would also want, at the end, I also want you to reflect on how the democracy is working in India. Okay, we shouldn't be bothered about any other country. We should be bothered about the society that is most relevant to us. Why I'm asking this is, again, the policy making, ethical considerations, everything comes from the government. And who is the government? Is it some leaders or their representative of the public? And again, what is the value or thought process of the public, right? So that is how we need to think of it. So don't bring any religion here, because there can be a lot of counter arguments, and it's too sensitive and I don't want to have it. But if you are interested, we can talk about it on personal level. Personally, we can talk in general about it, but we'll not talk about religion here. Yes, because you know the issues. So. But I would be willing to debate on that. Yes. No, that's okay. No, I don't want. What are the good things about democracy? Democracy is about giving the right to each of the person. Each person has a say in what the government should do. And not all persons can be accounted. So the majority of the people's thing is accounted. That's why. Yes, Shreya, I would agree with that. And what is bad thing about democracy is, if as Aditya pointed out, it all depends on the kind of discretion the public uses when they are choosing someone as the leader. Why should somebody choose a leader? How many of us are voting based on um, the the manifesto. Okay, I will also add a comment on one of the statements I used to hear from my grandfather, something like, I always, from childhood, I always voted for this party, so I will remain a faithful worker of that party, and I will only vote for that party. What is a good thing and bad thing about it? Is it a good stance to start with? Yes, my grandfather would say that I mean, there are two things here. What is meant by faithful to the party? When, how should it, why should one be faithful to a party or faithful to a hero or faithful to a cricketer? What do you mean by that? Is it about us or is it about the person there? Right? We should be able to change. Change is everything, isn't it? If we are unable to change based on the scenarios or circumstances, then we are not adapting, we are not making the correct of the decisions. And majority of the, what is Plato's problem is something like this. Why Plato hated democracy is, I like the concept, but I like democracy too. I need to be valued. I don't want to be subdued by somebody else. I don't want to subdue anybody either. Okay. So the question is, if there are two sellers, one is selling sweets, the sweet shop owner, and the other one is a doctor, and the sweet shop person will tell you sweet things about what is good. This is a sweet thing, it makes you happy, you eat it, you'll get glucose, a lot of energy, your brain will be very active, and very, very nice things, and so on, so on. But we all know what happens when we have too many sweets. And the other person is a doctor. He will hurt you. He will hurt you and give you bad tasting medicines to eat. He will cut you open to perform surgeries. He is going to harm you. And who is the general public going to vote for? If these are the kinds of things they have to present about themselves, whom would the public choose? The public will choose the sweet shop owner. And is it good for the state? It is not good for the state. It might be, we might feel temporary happiness and all, but eventually it will lead bad to the health of the society. The doctor is the one who is actually doing the tough works, tough jobs. Okay? And then he is causing us inconvenience. And we are not ready to take the inconvenience. We always would want the safe things, happy things. Nobody wants to go through inconvenience. If the public make decisions without having a clear idea about what is the benefit of this manifesto to my country, my state, my society, then they have a way of choosing one. The other ways choosing is it my identity? Is it beneficial to me? Or is it is the person nominated? Is that person standing up for elections? Does he share my identity of religion, caste, or locality? These kinds of things. Then we are going to make bad choices. The process of electing a government is for the welfare of the society and smooth running and advancing and evolution of our society. If democracy and if the elections were, if all the participants were made on that, then we would have a different elections, different type of nomination, a different type of people being nominated, and different type of people we would have actually voted for. But that's not what happens, and those are the perils of democracy. Okay, we all know the advantages. Everybody should have equal rights. Everybody should have everything. We have too much of identity politics. Because our parents were in a party, the children tend to like that party. That's common. It's same as everything else that we inherit. All the social norms that we inherit, we don't change. Do we change our religion? No, we don't change. It's very rare that something happens. We don't, without even knowing anything about any other caste or religion or party or hero or anything, we tend to develop some affinities and we make it a part of our identity and we will do anything to defend it. As a scientist in the future, to be people and citizens, and also as a scientist, to be able to look at, reflect on self, reflect on the mistakes, reflect on or acknowledging the mistakes is the first step to science. We don't come into science carrying that anyhow we have to be right. We don't go into science that way. We go into science to show our ignorance, to shove away our ignorance. We don't come to show that we are great over somebody else. And when we take, this is the first step, and then we have the second step where then we will try to improve on our skills, knowledge, wisdom, and then we become better citizens. And then we make much more better things. Okay. Anybody has any, see, I don't want to talk about politics also. These are questions about, the topic is about here, about you and me. It's about how we all can transform ourselves, kind of have self-reflecting attitude, guts to concede if there are mistakes. We have a tendency to cover up our mistakes. That's how we have been, we have grown, and that's how the society also works, actually. I think it's all right to learn to accept or acknowledge our mistakes and shortcomings. And that will be a very good foundation for building a better you. Okay. So we discussed on, there are, whatever we discussed, there are no right answers. There are no answers sometimes. You can have your own. All I need is, if today's class, if using today's class, if you were able to reflect on your own things, look into yourselves and see, okay, this one is good, this one is bad. Say, for example, I am a non-vegetarian. Okay. I can talk about morality from morning till evening. At the same time, when I think about what am I doing with non-vegetarian, I'm not doing it right. I don't consider it right. But am I stopping? I'm not stopping. I will give any kind of definitions to, or any kind of what do you call, defenses to say that non-vegetarian is not bad. I will say that humans were non-vegetarians comparing to what we look at chimpanzees. Chimpanzees do occasionally hunt other monkeys and other things when they're in, when they are deficient in proteins, and they do. I mean, they, whenever opportunity presents, they hunt and eat monkeys and other animals. So considering that, and our intestine is in the middle, it's not too long. The vegetarians usually have very long intestine, and the carnivorous ones, they have relatively shorter intestines. Our intestine falls somewhere in between, which means that we are mostly, we eat a lot of plant material, but we also consume. We are frugivores. We cannot eat leaves and survive. Frugivores, we need the fruits, and it's not every season that there are fruits available. We have to then go and hunt something to feed ourselves. So our intestine length is in somewhere in between those two. Not too much of only, it's not only animal thing, but it's not only plant. So I can give any kind of defenses, but if I talk in terms of ethics and so on, I can also say they are domesticated animals. If I leave them, they will die. So I'm eating it. I can take. And if I talk about the egg, it is unfertilized. There is no chance that it is going to give rise to a chick. So it's all right to eat. If I talk about milk, yeah, milk, we are bred them so much that we give the milk in the, we will leave some milk for the calf. The cows are bred to have produce more milk than required. So I take only I give what the calf needs, and that's why the calf is surviving and growing. And I also provide the calf with grass and other things, and I'm taking some milk for myself. We can defend anyway, but at the end, I if I'm eating some meat, then I have been directly or indirectly responsible for killing an organism. Having known this, am I changing? I'm not changing, because that is how I've grown up, right? So it is about self-reflection. It is about trying to uh, we should first acknowledge that we have some things we know, many things we don't know, some things we do right, many things we don't do right. In every of our decision, there are right things about it, and there are wrong things about it. That gives a self-reflective capacity, and then you are good for science. You are already a scientist that way. People who can't see themselves are not scientists. That's how I can put it in one simple way. There are two things. One is, to if we are in science, it's not just about knowledge, intelligence, techniques, skills and all. It's also you, the person also is a part. That's why they say science is a way of life. It's not like it's not like you do it just for job and not for your daily living. I think Rosalind Franklin says, I'll stop with this one. I think she says something like, science should never be separated from everyday life. Science is not a job. It is rather it is a way of living, right? You cannot separate science. I'll do only for experiments, and then in my real life I will do something else, not evidence based or these kind. Then it doesn't make so much of a sense. Okay, while I say all these, we should be very tolerant of people. We should be understanding of people who did not have a chance to learn what we are learning or do what we are doing, and be understanding of their circumstances as well. Otherwise, we will become far away from the rest of the world if we are following science in everyday life. So I hope I have given you some things to think about and keep these things forever in life, so that while you pursue science, you have an opportunity to test and think about yourselves and your attitudes towards several topics, difficult topics maybe, or controversial topics as well, including science. Okay, I'll leave you with that today, and maybe tomorrow I will finish that chapter. Any idea if you are coming to campus and we are going to have some classes in the room, in the classroom? Anybody? Any news? Don't ask me. Okay, then that should be all right. I think there will be some classes where we will have face-to-face interaction before exam. That is, I'm thinking it based on what I've seen for PG. If there are optional classes, I think we'll see if we'll get a chance to meet each other. Okay, take care and have fun. Bye-bye. Yeah, see you. Bye.